Hello, 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 all. Thank you for joining me again on this beautiful Saturday. I have with me my guest of honor, Miss DNC, who is a published author. How are you doing today,
Hello.
girl?
Girl, I'm doing real good, real good. It's looking real nice outside. You
I know.
see all this light? Okay.
Look, finally, finally. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello everyone. And first, let me say thank you, Peaches, so much for creating this platform so people can come on here, talk about their business, and later on talk about some nice little juicy tidbits. We won't be covering that today, I heard, so that's good. But yes, my name is DNC. That's my pen name, and I have been writing since like literally I can remember. I'm from St. Louis, but I've been in Georgia for 14 years, so I might as well call myself a little peach myself. I am mother of three wonderful kids, two fur babies, a wife, Christian, sister, ride or die. I work full time, part time. I also am the owner of a writing assistance business called Her Legacy. And really, like for me, being a business owner feels incredible because I do work full time. And if one day that full time goes away, we definitely have the words to fall back on. I definitely have words. So
I
yeah,
know
that's
that's
me.
right. I know that's
That's
right.
me.
And just so you guys know, we will make sure that we put all of the handles and links
Mhm.
to her books in the description as soon as we have this uploaded. So tell us a little bit how you started. What made you want to start writing?
So, I'm an only child to my mother. And so I started writing just, long, long time ago. Long, long, very, very long time ago. Like I remember my very first story being some magnificent story about a princess on top of a dragon slaying somebody. Like I remember that. And putting the book together with staples and so I've always had a very vivid imagination.
Mhm.
And as I got older, you go through school, kind of school burns you out a little bit with writing. So I didn't do it creatively as I wanted to throughout school, but it wasn't until college, and to keep it 100%, I started writing, erotica in college, these little short, fun stories, basically to try to keep me, from cheating,
Right.
you got an outlet somewhere, right? And I started reading more books like Zane and Noray and
Mhm.
like all these authors. I think I was also at the point as a young woman kind of nervous about being able to write like that. So as I got older, my writing just kept evolving. I started talking about, women wanting to transform into these alpha females, and then these alpha females transforming into something goddess like. So now I'm even working on a young adult book, and I also have a thriller horror book coming out, within the next couple years or so. Please don't hold your breath on that one. It's going to take a while. But my next book, my fifth book, which is Untraditional Volume 2, my very first book is Untraditional. My fifth book will be coming out this year. So it's definitely, I always tell people, especially those authors that I support on my other side business, is that everyone has a voice. Everyone has a unique voice. You're going to read a lot of similar things in writings, but you can only be you. And so I enjoy and have enjoyed developing my voice and developing my words to just fit exactly who DNC is. So, yes.
Oh yes. Okay, girl. Go ahead then. All right. I can't wait for those new books to come out. But how long have you been a published writer? And can you like take us through that process of how you got to that point?
Absolutely. So the one thing to note is I am a self-published author. What that means is I move the ship, I steer the ship. I have a couple people helping me put up the flags and dropping the anchor every now and then, but it's pretty much, a one-woman show for the most part.
Mhm.
And being a self-published author, there are a lot of things from, connecting with the right editors to cover designers to getting up on platforms like Kindle and iBooks and things like that. When it comes to being a mainstream or traditional published author, just so people can know the difference,
Mhm.
normally you have like a book agent, and that book agent helps to pitch your book to traditional publishers. And then once those publishers pick you up, then you go on these big tours that they help to budget for. It still comes back to you in the end run, like in the back end, but they're the ones that kind of help move your ship. When you're a self-published author, you have to be the one to move that ship. So, and I actually enjoy it because I get to control and don't have anyone telling me what I can and can't do and where I can and can't go, and kind of I won't say I'm biased about traditional publishing because it is getting better, but for a while there, it's a formula when you go through traditional publishing. You're not going to get some of the unique voices that you now can get through those who self-publish. So yeah.
Right. Well, and that actually does seem like, whew, seems like a lot. And I know that sometimes it can make people really discouraged
Mhm.
into the entire process. So, I just want to encourage those who have a passion for writing to continue to do that because, some of us, we we get our life charge
Mhm.
again when we read these novels,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's a good outlet for a lot of us dealing with the chaos in this world. So it definitely is an important thing to just keep writing and keep going because you are helping a lot of individuals when you are putting your work out there.
And if I could just add this note too about reading, I know it and definitely has gotten a lot better, but even being a Black female erotic writer
Mhm.
at one point was such a faux pas for our community. Like, we're supposed to talk about our struggles. Supposed to talk about, our transformations, what society has put on us, things like that. But
Right.
sometimes I think people forget we're not just that. We are,
Right.
human, sexual, intellectual people who can still find, release through, our natural nature, right?
Right.
So even if you're watching this and you're wondering whatever your topic is, you want to talk about, someone who walks their dogs and they're in love with, and it's a Black woman who loves their dogs and they walk dogs in the neighborhood, and you ain't never read that before, write it, because
Right.
that doesn't mean that it's not for everyone. It means that you have one writer who absolutely gets what you're reading or what you're writing, and they will be your top reader. So don't give up on any topic, no matter what it is.
So, are there any other things that you work on outside of writing your novels? Like, are any other creative writing or articles or anything like that?
So I have been, a couple of my young adult short stories have been picked up
Okay.
by other kind of traditional publishers. I don't do it a lot because those stories end up being a part of a larger book. Like, my mind is constantly coming up with new stories. And I will say that the things that I've done recently have been more so for my side business, where I help to ghostwrite blogs for other bloggers and other creatives. And basically, not necessarily, telling stories, but it's really bringing their voice to whatever brand it is, whatever product, whatever service they have. So
Right.
I love words. I prefer creative, but I'm down for all of them, to be honest.
Well, that's good.
Mhm.
Do you by chance mind reading us a teaser passage or
Oh
anything from one of
Lord.
your books?
Mm. Lord. So my fifth book is with the editor. So the book that I will pull from today is my very first baby. And let me tell you this, as a writer who, like I said, I'm on my fifth book, which means I got four other books that have been out there. This is untraditional, a collection of Passion Five short stories. Sometimes as you continue to develop, I wrote this back in 2015. When you start going back through your words, you be like, woo, I mean, that's it's totally different from what I write now. So, but I still think this is a very timeless piece and this is kind of an introductory too. So if you're not an erotic, deeply romance kind of reader, I still would recommend reading my book because it kind of introduces you to new things. So,
Right.
like I said, Untraditional is a collection of short stories. This particular short story is titled Daydreaming. To give a little background, Ava and Dominic, they go to college together, and Ava has a huge crush on Dominic. And basically, what's happening is she's starting to come to light and transform a little bit, and is becoming a little bit more open with how she feels about Dominic. So, just going to share this quick portion. I look up into the fifth row from the top and see Dominic. Dominic, I was so happy to see he saved me a seat. As I finally got to my seat, Professor Sawyer stepped into the room. Man, could you cut it any closer? Dominic questioned me. I just laughed and thanked him. All right, class, let's get it popping. Professor started on his semi cool but still very geekish rant before handing out the test. I was so happy that Dominic thought about me. Sure, I wanted to take my test, but I was more excited to take it next to him. Dominic was also a senior majoring in psychology, but not your normal psychology geek. He was 6'2", a solid 205 with sun glazed skin and gray eyes. His voice was as deep and calming as a late night quiet storm DJ. Everything about him oozed player and an obvious hoe magnet, but I never had seen him treat any woman with disrespect, not even with the hoes who threw themselves at him. I couldn't lie. I had a huge crush on him. The professor's rant made me fall into one of my normal Dominic daydreams. I saw the classroom empty, and instead of Dominic sitting next to me, he was standing at the front of the room by the teacher's desk. I look around and realized that we were truly alone. Come here, he called to me. Without hesitation, I stood up and started walking down the stairs. I noticed that the shabby sweatpants and t-shirts I originally had on was now a black dress with two slits on the side, set off with some red 4.5-inch peep toe stilettos. Gotta be that descriptive, y'all. I could even feel my hair blowing in some sort of hidden wind from within the classroom. That's weird. I finally made it down the stairs, and as I took the last step, he used all his strength to knock everything off the desk. I knew what was next. He gestured for me to give him my hand, and I did. He pulled me in close and matched up our lips perfectly. His tongue was smooth and perfect. It knew exactly what it was doing. He pulled me closer by my ass and proceeded to lay me down across the desk. I lay back awaiting his next move. He got down on his knees and took his time taking my shoe off, kissing each toe and then moving his way up my calf. His hands led the way. He rubbed my thighs and then his mouth made it to the same location, not missing a single spot. He rubbed my inner thighs and again kissed both without missing that single spot. I let out a small groan and felt his hand move to my cove. Ava, Dominic said. Yeah, I whispered as I awaited his next move. Are you going to pass those down? Huh? I was suddenly pulled back from my fabulous dream and brought back into the present day downer, formerly known as my classroom. All right, y'all, that's it. That's
That's good.
it.
So take me I guess a little bit into how you come up with these characters. Like what is the creative
As I started off with this interview, I have a very vivid and crazy imagination. And a lot of times it's me musing people, but taking
Mhm,
a piece of this person or this attribute that I've seen
gotcha.
and that I like, that is interesting that maybe people haven't seen. Like, is to me, it's very rare to find that gorgeous, attractive geek that really isn't the jock. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like there's a lot of them out there probably. I haven't seen a ton, but I'm pretty sure I'm speaking to somebody, in that particular book, in this particular book. But I really just use kind of like my context clues. And I remember I call myself a geek. Like I'm a I love all types of anime. I love, I could sit down, not just read erotic books, but thriller books. I read uh comic books, all that is who I feel like I am. So a lot of my characters stem from kind of what I would call untraditional characters. Like you're always going to hear about the guy that's this, beautiful chocolate man that has these
Right.
gorgeous lips, but there's so many attributes to us as Black people that I just like to share them in the books, and I like to give us a little bit more character and be creative.
Right,
How are
right,
people really hooking up nowadays?
right. So how do you create time for a healthy personal life, with
Mhm.
writing and being a working mom and how do you create that time for yourself?
Ooh, that is a wonderful question. So recently I was asked kind of the same thing, like, how do you do it all, right?
Mhm.
I like to always reference kind of or paraphrase this quote from Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. There's a quote. She said she's in an interview, and the interviewer, asked her kind of the same question, and she's like, first you want to say, "Oh, well, I just figure out, I set my day up like this, and then I move like this." But the real and honest answer, which I agree with from her point, is something's always going to slack off, right? So
Right.
if you're being an amazing mother, I'm probably not being the best author, and my full time may be like missing some bits and pieces. I may be an amazing full time, worker, and then my kids, I'm going to miss something with that, and then my words may take a back seat. So really, it's understanding how to build a community around you that helps you balance it all. You're never going to be perfect. You're never going to be able to hit everything on the head like it needs to be. Like, and you probably understand this too as a mother. You always feel like it's something else you got to do, right?
Yes, yes.
So trying to carve out the time that you can for the things that bring you passion is like, I almost feel a bit selfish, but you
Right.
got to. It's who you are.
Mhm.
And you can't deny what God has created us to be on this earth. You gotta figure out how to create that time and build that community that understands you, that can have your back.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's probably
because
the easiest way.
yeah, and that's very important. And even with, some of us that don't necessarily have that support system right at our fingertips,
Mhm.
just, being able to reach out to other moms and trying to find, that outlet through other individuals that are sharing the same experience you are. Sometimes you can find that support system in other people that, aren't blood related, or, that haven't been a typical friend for you, but like a complete stranger can be that support system.
Absolutely.
What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced, whether it's through writing or having that balance?
I mean, the biggest challenge, and I know a lot of people, particularly women, particularly African American women, it is imposter syndrome, right?
Hmm.
So you put out work, you put out yourself, you put out your passion. And when people accept it or people want you like something like this, come on and talk to it, you're like, I don't know if it's that good though. Like, I mean, what do you really want me to say? Like, I mean, what if you find out that like this isn't as great as you thought it was?
Right.
And I feel like that's constantly something that I work through, and that I may have to continue to work through for the rest of my life. But it's the next steps. Like it's even if you feel like that, do it anyway
Right.
because you won't understand your worth until you speak to it, speak about it. It's hard for me to talk about putting out 5 books because it's a lot of people can't get one book done, right?
True. True.
It's hard about, me talking about how I have this other business and how these things are doing well because other people are struggling. But that doesn't mean not to talk about it. That means to inspire others
Right.
by talking about it, which then, gets rid of that syndrome. So,
Right. And that's what I've actually had to tell people, like, don't consider yourself bragging when it comes to voicing your accomplishments. Most of the
absolutely.
time that is, the encouragement someone else needs to say, you know what, if she could do it, you know what, I can do it, So, I tell people all the time, don't, be afraid to tell people, hey, this is what I've accomplished thus far, because, most of the time people don't know your struggle and to how you got to that point to begin
Mhm.
with. So and when you have an opportunity to allow people in, to let them know, hey, this is where I started, this is where I become, where I've gotten to. So that's why, it's very important to always let people know, hey, I've accomplished these things. Now, how are you able to overcome those challenges?
Yeah. So I think you kind of spoke to it a little bit. Taking a step back to realize how far you've come,
Yeah.
right? I think, we don't do it enough when we are achieving. We just keep going. We're looking for the next success. We're looking for the next step forward. We're looking for the next progression towards whatever goal we may have in life. But I think to overcome something like the imposter syndrome is to simply take a moment to say, where was I a year ago? Where was I a month ago? You know, to really take into account the work that you put in to understand why you deserve the accolades, why you deserve the acknowledgments, why you deserve, all the positivity that's coming your way. Don't question the work because you've earned it. And even outside of like business, personal stuff as a parent, I don't know if we all sit back, and some of us, may do it better than others, but do we sit back and say, you know what? I raised a pretty good human right now. I'm doing this,
Right.
like, hey, they are polite, they
Right.
are, giving back. They are friendly, and they have their own voice. They can
Right.
stand up for themselves. So
Right.
the more we take time to step back, and it's not even checking off a list, but just remembering where was I? How did I get here? And that's why I deserve to be here. It's
Right.
probably the best way to overcome it.
Right. So, what, I guess, advice would you give to future authors
Mm.
moving forward?
Ooh, I have so much. Let me see if I can single it down a little bit. Uh, if you are striving to tell a story, just start it. Don't sit and wait for the perfect time. Don't try to figure out what a formula is. Don't keep looking to your left or your right, watching what other people are doing. Just start. Put your head down, pull up your computer, bring out your notebook, whatever it is. Start somewhere. That is the hardest thing for a lot of people to do, is to literally feel inspired and driven to do what is on them.
Right.
And then once you start going, find that community, as we talked about earlier, that is on that same charge, whether they've already published a book or they're in the process of writing a book too. Surround yourself. There are groups on Facebook, there are groups on
Mhm.
Instagram, there are groups outside of those platforms. Honestly, Wattpad is a creative writing application that Twilight was started on.
Mhm.
There are so many opportunities to not just get out your story, but to enjoy it with people around you. That why would you wait? Why would you wait till tomorrow? Start it after you watch this. How about that?
Right. Right. So I do know that you do offer certain programs and packages for your readers. So
Yes.
do you care to elaborate on that? And we will also make sure that these links and things are available once everything is uploaded.
Absolutely. So, like I said, I've written 4 books, working on my 5th book. So, my first book was called Untraditional. My second book is a collection of poetry called Like, Love, Lust. And then I have 2 digital books. One is called, it's the extension of the short story I just read from Untraditional called Daydreaming, and the other book is Offic Extravaganza. Both Daydreaming and Offic Extravaganza are ebooks. That means you don't get the hand form; you get to read through it at your own pace on your phone. And if you can buy those books together as a package off my website, and you can do the same thing with the paperbacks, which is Like, Love, Lust and Untraditional. And right now, I'm also offering a free glass and a free mug with those packages on my website. So please go check it out, get into it. I have a blog too. It's called dncwrites.com. Go ahead and subscribe to that blog so you can also see when this next book is coming out. So, oh, and I have a Patreon account. I share stories on there, lots of tidbits. I do a my own podcast called Quiet Time with DNC. So go ahead, check that out. Follow me. I'll share links with Peaches so you all have it. But yeah, come check me out. Check me out.
Well, of course, I don't want to take up too much of your time because, as moms, we definitely have to go tackle these babies. So,
Yeah,
but I do appreciate you being on with me, and
thank you.
this has been wonderful information and great for those who are up and coming authors and those who just like to read like myself.
Hey,
So so you guys, again, make sure you go to Instagram and check out her legacy, and we will also post links and everything in the description once we've uploaded this podcast. But thank you so much for being on, and
thank you.
have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you guys for viewing. See y'all next time. Stay sweet.
Bye.